I'm going to start the show again, and we're going to go. Hi, everybody. Recruiting Animal here on August 13th, 2025. We got two greats to start off with. Alan Floor, he's showing us what the sky looks like in California, and I'm quite happy with that, okay? And we got Ernie Marino, okay, coming back to visit us again. Now, he's a co-host on Fridays with Tommy Pistachio Elascio at 12:30 Eastern every Friday. They got a great show, but Ernie used to be a regular here, and now he's going to share with us his presence again. Are you guys ready to answer some questions? Sorry, I had to just turn off a fan. Okay, here goes. What about this? I like the wacky stuff to start off with, okay? This guy said, no, it was a woman. I saw her say it. She said that you can figure out the mood of your candidates based on their age. Young people are happy and optimistic. Middle-aged people from 30 to 50, they're unhappy and pessimistic. And then older people over 50 are happy and optimistic again. Do those sound like reasonable assessment tools to either of you?
Go ahead, Ernie.
Not really. I think it's one by one. You talk to them, you talk to an old guy, they can be as ornery as can be and pessimistic, depending on what life's dealt with them,
No, the idea is that when you're young, you've got these kids, little kids to support. You've got a lot of pressure. And once they're gone, you relax again. When you're young, you don't, before you have married.
But we live in a day and age where a lot of grandparents are taking care of their grandchildren. And you see that a lot. You see a lot of people that start to reflect on what they could have had. And it's
hold on. I thought people in the kind of professional class that we deal with, they're not the ones whose kids are on opiates for the most part, and their grandchildren are living with them. Am I wrong?
I used to think that. I thought, you grew up poor, the next one goes up and it gets better and it gets better, and pretty soon you're the Rockefellers. But I moved into an area that's pretty middle class, upper class. And you found that a lot of the kids were going through a lot of the same drug problems and other kind of problems that a family faces. So it's not just your professional career; it's like all life around you.
Well, actually, one of the friends of the show used to be a regular. She unfortunately has that as well. Her grandchildren are living with her for many years already. Al, you want to get in on this or take a pass?
No, I think Ernie's right. It's individual. Two, I think whoever posted that is looking at the generic generational studies that some people are putting out. And number three, I grew up very nearby a very affluent area and worked in a grocery store where they all came in. I got to tell you, if you think affluence takes care of problems, it multiplies it, because these kids, when they've got access, time, and money, it gets bad fast.
Okay, but what about by the time they become our candidates, which is not when they're 15, it's when they're 25 or 30?
I think it's individual. You got just like.
Okay, I get the point. Let me move on. Moving on. Okay, here's my next.
I didn't know that was a yes or no answer.
Here's my next. Okay, here's my next. Yeah, I know you guys voted against me. Okay, here we are. Is this what was called a cheat code to the best that life has to offer? This is how it was billed, but I'm wondering if it's actually a formula for disaster. This guy said winners take risks. They're not afraid to look stupid, to fail, and to wipe out completely. And I found that hasn't worked for me, okay? Has anybody say that that's a cheat code for success? Being willing to look like an idiot in front of other people and take risks that fail? What do you guys think?
Yes.
Yes. Come on.
Yes, I think it's a matter of degrees, because if you're gonna go way out there, no, maybe not. But if you're gonna take a bit of a risk,
reckless. So you're. I see where you're coming from. You say taking risks is right, but reasonable risks, not reckless risk. Is that what you're saying, Alan Floor?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I think,
Well,
I think
what's
it's-
a
yeah,
risk
animal-
for a recruiter? What's a risk for a recruiter?
Okay.
Going off solo?
Going off solo. It could be trying to get somebody comfortable on the phone every day. That's still a big problem for a lot of recruiters. How do you address a person? How do you speak to somebody cold? That's an art and a learn, and that's a big risk for some people, but it's a risk. And don't be afraid to be stupid and admit it. I did it the other day.
Tell us.
I was calling a guy named Animal. He was a VP, and I got stupid coffee mouth. I couldn't shut up once he picked up the phone. I stopped myself and I said, Animal, I apologize. I don't do this, but I got too much caffeine, and I was really eager to talk to you. And he goes, Alan, slow down. Let's start again. I said, Animal, hi, my name's Alan.
Okay, Rich sometimes says, he says he'll use a bland opener on a cold call, and then he'll stop himself. He said, "No, that sounds awful. Let me start again." I know he has said that, if I remember correctly. Ernie, what is it? Is it a cheat code or a formula for disaster? Taking risks, and as Alan said, there's risks and there's risks, so at different levels. Go ahead.
Well, I think first of all, if you go back to Rich, what he says. Anything he says, the guy's such a pro that I would expect him to have said that because that's his intro. It's bullshit that he doesn't. He knows what the hell he's doing, and he does it on purpose sometimes to bring down the person's like, why the hell are you calling me? And he'll bring that down. They'll have a chuckle, and then he'll go in because he's a chuckle man, But going back, is there a risk? There's always risk. And I saw a video the other day where the guy described it as, if you take a risk, many people don't. They're not willing to take a risk. They want to stay close to home. They never want to change their job. They always want security. And the reality of it in life is you're not going to get anywhere unless you take a risk. Now, how you calculate that risk is a whole different story. But sometimes I think once you get into like recruiting and you do it by yourself, the risk is going back to work and trying to maybe work for somebody else. And I have found twice that I can't do that. So to me, I came back to recruiting because I don't want a boss. And I've
so you try. Hold on. You tried to. Hi, Tommy. You tried to go, Ernie, from solo recruiting back to corporate, and you didn't like it. Is that what you're telling me?
I hated it. I mean, well, when I was in corporate before, I did that for 15 years as a VP of HR director with Goya and stuff. I had great people that I worked with. In certain jobs that were less, went to work for a great guy. He got fired. New guy comes in. I would have never worked for him. He would have never hired me. And I think that kind of experience teaches you, that you got to be your own boss. But when you're in the corporate world, you've sold your soul for your salary. And some people get big salaries. And I found myself, sacrificing everything for the job because you really have no control. You miss all the things for your kids. The events, the growing up. It's a rough life.
Okay, so you're saying taking risks and risking failure is in fact a cheat code for success in life. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I walked away from 200,000, and I said I won't do this anymore.
I've known Ernie for about 10 years. This is the most he's ever told me about himself.
I'm the kid who had a lot of good things happen.
No, I know though. No, I remember you grew up though picking fruit in California or something like that.
Right. But I mean, it's always a challenge.
That is something. No. To come from your kind of background, which you describe yourself as a poverty-stricken background, and then getting a good corporate job and risking it to leave. That does take some guts. I'm gonna say that there. Okay.
I always said, I lived in poverty. I know how to do that.
Well, most people don't want to go back. Okay, they know what it's like. Tommy Pistachio. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Ernie.
No, I was just gonna say it's just sometimes it's who you're working with and what your environment is, and then also the sacrifice as you watch your kids grow. You only have your kid for so much, and
Yeah, but you
You're-
want to be
you're-
able to
you're-
support them too, and taking a risk and going on your own is threatening their future just as much as not showing up to their baseball.
yeah, but sometimes like they go through depression, they go through other things, and you need to be there. I mean, I was
Okay.
commuting from Chicago to New York, in
Okay, well, you didn't add all those variables up. I didn't know you were
Yeah.
a long distance commuter for your job. Okay, let's ask Tommy. Tommy, there's two questions you missed already, but this last one is winners take risks, okay? This is a cheat code for success in life. Winners are not afraid to look stupid, to fail, and to wipe out completely. I say that's a formula for disaster. You're saying it's okay, do you have a background? Okay, go ahead.
That's a yes or no.
Miss
That's
100
a yes or no.
So basically, it is very cliche now, but back in 1997, 96, I had on my refrigerator that quote, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. I think it's Gretzky.
Yeah,
said it, right?
Yeah.
So I quit a very prestigious beverage manager, bartender, head bartender job at an oceanfront restaurant, making 50 grand a year in 1997 to become a headhunter, straight commission, hourly, minimum wage draw. And was very successful at it. And then I quit a $200,000 a year, $150,000 a year minimum headhunting job that I had been at for 14 years to go move 1,000 miles away to start my own firm. I did those things because there was no, and you could Ben Mena's podcast, there was no plan B. I will succeed. I will always fucking figure it out no matter what happens. I will figure it out. So I went and became a headhunter, became the rookie of the region in my first year, a top 25 account executive every year for the next 5 years in a row. I opened up my firm. I made a placement within 14 days of me hanging my shingle and did $170,000 in 7 months. Right? There is no plan B. There is no not succeeding. I don't believe in not succeeding, and I will take ridiculous risks for that.
Okay, Alan Fleur gave us an example before you got here. He said just getting on the phone for a cold call for lots of people is taking a risk. And he gave an example of himself. He called somebody up, finally got the guy on the phone, and he was so excited about it that he just started rambling and making himself look like an idiot, okay? But he stopped himself. He said, hey, I just like what Rich kind of says, I'm making an idiot. I'm fooling myself. Can I start again? Or the guy was quite sympathetic. Alan, am I misrepresenting you, or did I say it correct?
Pretty close. That's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever do you take those kind of risks? You like talking. You never think you make a screw up in a conversation. Am I right about that?
I had a meeting with the number 2 company in one of my niches. And I did not do any research on them because I thought I knew everything. I got onto the call and completely embarrassed myself because I did not know they were one of the biggest out there, and completely ruined the meeting. I had a great opportunity to get this client on board as a new client. I was all excited about it. I wasn't excited enough because I didn't do any fucking research. I thought I knew everything and I screwed up. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes.
Okay, but how did you? I have a few things about that. How did you recover from that?
I didn't.
Okay, no, you didn't bring that aboard, but psychologically, I think Rich or his copywriter said, pick up the phone again.
It just is what it is. I mean, we mess up. You just nothing bothers me. I don't. None of that stuff will ever stay with me. It'll just okay, I screwed up. I learned from it. Why do learning experiences always have to suck? Why can't I have a good learning experience? Right. That's about the extent of it. Right. I screwed up. I won't ever do that again. Right.
Really,
it is what it is.
That's a miracle to be able to bounce back that fast. I remember sometimes when I've done that, I'm walking back and forth. That's cool down. Anybody else? Sorry, go ahead.
It's just been so. I mean, I've screwed up so much in my entire life, and nothing comes of dwelling on it. Nothing comes of thinking you can fix it. Right? When you screw up, you reflect on it. You say, okay, don't fucking do that again, you idiot, and then move on. I mean, that's all you can do. People worry so much about stuff that's already passed that you can't fix, you can't change, you can't do anything, and you spend all this time worrying about it. Just fucking move on.
Yeah.
You know, Ellen Langer, she's a famous psychologist, professor. She said the exact same thing. Anybody else want to talk about how they recover from making a fool?
Well, I think of
I do
Tom,
it all the time.
I think of Tom, and then I move forward.
Hey, you can say, hey, at least I'm not Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but what I'll do is is you got to learn. You got to learn to recover. It's like you don't do it the first time and say, "Oh shit, what you're going on?" You know, stuff has to happen to you, and then the other thing you do is you start talking to people. Like, you know, I get on the phone, I'll talk to Alan, talk to Tom. They'll tell me, "Hey, get over it, shit." And then you learn. You're being coached. You're being mentored to do it, and that's what your parents teach you, and that's what everybody else. Sometimes not the greatest way, but you know, life is that way. But you got to take chances, and you got to go with it. You know, it doesn't.
You can't cry over spilled milk. I mean, that's the oldest, one of the oldest ones in the book, right? Can't cry over spilled milk.
Yeah, but nobody
no one can
tells
make
us,
you
they
feel
tell us
inferior
those
unless you
maxims,
let
but
them.
they don't tell us how to make them part of your life. Okay, you know.
But you know, it's also Animal.
You learn it when you're 5 years old. It doesn't stick. Go ahead, Alan.
Animal. It's also, let me propose this. It's also a lot like, remember when you were a kid at you go to the high school dance and you got the guys who are like the football guys that are like, oh, they got the swagger and they walk up to the girls straight on and they ask them to dance whether they say yes or no. And then you got like what I did, because I was scared to death. I figured out I would walk up beside them. I'd see their friends they were talking to. I'd come back and tap them on the back of the shoulder, say, hey, you want to dance? And they'd almost always say yes. Now, every now and then they'd say no, but they do it politely. Now, if you never ask the girl to dance, you're never going to get a chance to dance. And there's a lot of other ways to analogize this, but the biggest risk is not taking a risk.
You know, you wish you were the guy that in high school would have went up to like 5 girls and said, come on, all 5 of you, let's dance. Because they all want to dance. And you don't put them in any situation. But none of us are that way. We like...
Animal, let me say this, because it's going to sound stupid, but it'll work. Is, you know what I wish, you know what risk I would have taken? I would have wished I went on your show earlier than when you originally asked me for my first 15 minutes, because I would have met Ernie and Tommy and everybody else sooner, and I could have asked them for advice sooner, which would have helped me faster.
Okay,
that's one of the things I did when I became a headhunter. I asked everyone for advice. I went to these regional meetings that no one would talk to these big billers, and I would just walk up to them and going, you know, hey, help me. What are tips? What can you tell me? Because again, you have nothing to lose, right? That's what I try to explain people on cold calls. You have nothing to lose. No one's going to come through the phone and beat you up, right? There's nothing that can happen.
But even like to come on a show like this or our show or whatever, people are freaked out about it. I don't want to get on it. I don't want to say something. And there's so many recruiters, but there's like 10, 20 of us, maybe 30 that come on these shows. And we're willing to talk about it, but then you ask yourself, these people are willing to, they're not even willing to read, they're not even willing to watch a podcast, they're not willing to do anything, but they want to know why they can't get another job as a recruiter. And this one from day one, if you aren't learning 30 years later and continually learning, you're not going to make it.
There's a lot to learn now with AI, but before I forget, which is a problem of mine, Ernie's dictum is for if you're in a corporate job, you've got nothing to lose but your chains. Okay. But there's another issue, though. Ernie said, well, you've got to learn to recover from these failures, but I'm sure it's not a matter of, everybody's different, like you guys have been saying, and someone like Tom, he's so ebullient. I can't believe that he takes anything seriously. I mean, I screwed up, and I don't have to call Ernie and get someone to commiserate with me. Okay.
Tom growing up was very, very shy, very weak.
Yeah, right. Okay. I'll bet he drove his mother crazy. She couldn't turn him off. I mean, that's my guess. But
or you grew up in an Italian family.
He's not so Italian. Okay, that's just his last name. But
the growing up was very Italian because of my dad's side, and the grandparents that we hung out with were very, very Italian. So yes, there's a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, a lot of talking with hands, a lot of
and a lot of talking at the same time.
And a lot of talking at the same time.
Hey, that's a matter for you.
Yeah, I had to really work on that because of these meetings. I talk over people all the time. I have to be very careful about that.
Yeah. But that's where you learn these Italian families. That's where you learn that families first, and you learn to work with groups. You learn how to get along with people. You learn how to be assertive. You get into a normal third generation American kind of a family, and they're like this at the table. They're like,
Big Fat
How's your
Greek
day?
Wedding,
Good.
how his parents were compared to her parents is a great example. How reserved they were.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
cousin I see at Christmas, maybe, right? And then they go to
Mhm.
their house for one dinner, and the whole entire neighborhood's there. And my partner, Dimitri, he's Greek, and it's just like that. When you go to his house, there's 100 people every time there's an event. And I miss that. I do. I miss that kind of family gatherings we had. My parents got divorced. It all went to hell in a handbasket, but I learned a lot from that.
But you
Okay.
want to know something about that? That is gold right there, because that teaches you so much about corporate America. And like, for example, is the thing about Tommy's family, and my wife is 100% Italian, and I've learned this. Is I remember I would tell her, I'd say, she'd look at me, we had a fight, and I'm like, well, why did she made a comment? I thought we broke up. We had a fight. I thought we broke up. She's like, we didn't have a fight. We had a fight. And then over the years, I told her, I said, look, my mom throws the phone and breaks it because I'm talking to her, and she doesn't talk to me for 6 weeks. You guys, you have a knockdown, drag out, hair pulling, teeth biting, fists going, blah, blah, blah. And then 10 minutes later, you're at the dinner table. It's like, hey, you want to go see a movie? Yeah, let's go. That is a great example of how you have to learn to get along.
I
in a
grew up.
family. Yeah, but you know, Tommy, I find it fascinating because when I talk and I see companies, and we should talk about this later, not an animal show. He's gonna shut me up in a minute. Is you know, you need your managers to walk their talk too. Is when they say, well, you know, we need you to be proactive, and then we need you to be this, but we're not going to do it, and we're not going to stand up for you should you do it. It's like, that's how a family does.
You know, the one thing I don't understand, like you take a company, and you take a company that has a lot of any other languages that are spoken there.
Mhm.
And you got some executive there, some manager that's been there, like just say language Spanish, right? You've been there 20 years and you still don't know how to speak Spanish or even a little bit of it, or whether it be Italian, Spanish, or whatever. And then you're saying, well, you got to get in with the people, and their whole thing is, how does it work? In order, the key to our success is communication. Okay, well, communication is talking to people, understanding them.
Mhm.
And if you leave a company, my biggest thing was, if I leave a company and nobody cries, then I didn't do a job. I want people to cry, to say, really, you're going to leave us? And I've had people do that.
Mhm.
And you wish you would have
You made an impact on
Yeah.
people personally and professionally. That's
You
an
want your
important
kids
thing.
to cry when you die? I was that's a conversation I heard. But hold on a second. I want to just say something. Since I mentioned Ellen Langer, who agreed, gave her imprimatur on what Tom said. With regards to what Ernie said a few minutes ago, you know, when I feel bad about something, I'll call Tom or Alan or somebody else. And this guy I like, Robert Moore, I think he's also a psychologist. He wrote a book, The Way of the Kaizen Way, which I like. I like that. It's the only way I ever got to make my bed, by following his instructions. But anyway, he said that's what monkeys and primates like us do when they get agitated. They look to somebody else for, especially the kids. They look to somebody for support. So he said that's a very natural way to help yourself recover. Okay, but go ahead.
You kind of look at things like mentors, and you need to have your mentors. Like, these guys are my mentors. I'm their mentor,
Mhm.
and it goes both ways. The second part of that is, I don't have they're not my mentors maybe for religion or for family or for drinking or for whatever else, because they're different people, and you could be very successful, and your family mentor could be somebody that's the poorest guy you ever knew, but he knows how to deal with his kids. Kids grow up to be great, and you want to say, I want to be like them. His kids come back and they're part of the family. My kids used to say, you see all those people with big houses, because we're talking about buying a real big house. He goes, Dad, don't do that, because a lot of my friends live in those big houses, and all they do is just escape to their rooms, and they don't see each other. They don't hang out. And then you go, oh, okay, you know, you're kind of forcing a smaller house to kind of hang out, whether you like it or not.
Some people say that's a problem of modern society. We've got such great entertainment at home right now that we don't have to go out into the.
One of the things I've experienced, right, growing up poor and growing up in a middle class neighborhood, is that I call them the front yard people and the backyard
Love
people.
this. Love this.
Because when you're in a poor neighborhood, you're in the front yard. You go through there and you see everybody there waving, they're talking, you know each other. Here, I've been 30 years. and I've never been to my neighbor's house.
Yeah. You know what? You guys are a little biased towards these big families that are nosy and try to push you around as well. There's a downside for that. Just like your neighbors, your nosy neighbors try to push you around and shame you and stuff like that when you have no privacy. These are double-edged swords, okay? And there's different kinds of person. I think introverted people don't necessarily like those crowd scenes, okay? So maybe there's that.
I want to say, I know we're getting off where we were, but back to that missing 100% of your shots you never take type of thing.
No, go ahead.
Do you know, up until recently, Babe Ruth had the most strikeouts. He was the record holder for the number of strikeouts. And he was also the record holder for the number of home runs. So think about that. That man swung at every frigging ball that came. And when he connected with it, he got a home run. But when he didn't, he struck out.
That's not everybody. That is not everybody. If I take a shot at every strike, I will strike out.
Everything is not black and white. I'm giving you an example. Everything is not black and white.
Animal had more strikeouts.
Yes. Okay. I won't get those home runs. I'll just strike out every time.
Okay, no, you won't. No, you won't.
You won't.
And you make 100 phone calls, someone will like you.
Okay, and you took that example of Gretzky. Gretzky's a superstar, just like Babe Ruth.
How did he become? Whoa! How did he become a superstar? How did he become
a talent,
superstar?
And his father brought him up.
Hold
okay, he's from here. I know all about him.
No. Okay, hold on. You want to say that? Michael Jordan. Here's one for you. How did Michael Jordan become successful? It was a really simple equation. Come on.
He's born with talent.
No. He was born. No.
He was passed over. He didn't even make it the first or second round.
Right. So for me, he basically, Tommy, quote me on this. I'm going to be off, but it was basically if he had to score, I don't know, 30 points a game to be famous, he figured he had to score a basket every 3 minutes or 4, whatever it was. But it was, when you broke it down by quarter, it was practically nothing. But he also learned to do that. I had to pass. I had to assist. I had to do it. But I also had to practice to be good. So when they pass it to me, they could be confident I'm going to sink it. So he also missed a lot before he got better.
And Gretzky, him and his father watched games, and they circled where the puck was at all times and found all the places the puck was where people weren't. So Gretzky made a point of being there. That's how he got control of the puck so often. That's why he had so many assists. He knew where the puck was going to be. He was the first person to do that. And this goes back to the cold calling thing, right? And what Alan said, if you want to make 100 phone calls, block it out 10 an hour or 10 every half hour, 5 every 10 minutes or whatever it is. And it's small, right? And if you make 100 phone calls, you will connect with someone 100%.
And it's
hard.
You will
connect with someone.
And know that it's hard and it's a pain and you want to know there's two people that there's cold calling. There's the people that hate it and there's the people that lie about liking it.
No way. No, I think that some people like it.
There's two type of gamblers, liars and losers. There's two type of cold callers. Those who hate it and those that lie.
But you know what it is, Animal? You got to get, if you're cold calling, because for me at least, is I got to get to the first person that actually, is a good call. I got to, that's my goal. I got to get to the first
call.
person.
Should always be a great call.
Yeah.
Get your momentum going.
Yeah.
And secondly, I love the cold call if I have the goods, right? If I have a rock star MPC, I love, because I get to brag. I get to be like, I got the goods and you can't have it. Ha 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 ha. Right. If I have like I always talk about when I marketed the #1 sales rep from the direct competitor, that was my whole entire pitch. I have the #1 sales rep from the direct competitor. Why would you like to talk to him? I love that. I cold called the hell out of that guy. That was exciting. Cold calling a guy that's not very good, or cold calling trying to sell your services, which I'm trying to break through now because I'm afraid of, is tough. It is. I will agree. I hate it, but I'm gonna break through it.
Let's talk about that some other time because I want to bounce some stuff off.
We can talk about right there now. Danny Cahill used to call those institutional calls, where you're not marketing somebody or even a job to a candidate. You're just calling up to introduce yourself. Is that what you're talking about, Tommy Elascio Pistachio?
Yes, it is more of a, I'm a headhunter. I've been doing this for 1 million years. We deal with a lot of clients like you for this company and that company, and have been struggling finding guys that have this type of experience, and we've been successful helping them. I wanted to see if that was something you were struggling with.
And you don't like doing that? You find that harder than other calls? Is that
much harder.
Why?
And being on the inside,
I don't have anything in my opinion, and it's probably wrong, anything tangible, right? When I have a good NPC, I have something tangible, right? I'm selling them this candidate as well as myself.
Oh, dude,
Now everything is focused on me.
Yeah.
I have
No, it's not. Change it. Change it to the WIFM model, and that'll work. That'll work. Here, dude, I've been on the inside on our business, so I can tell you they're all overloaded, they're all overworked, they're all stressed out of their mind. So if you actually get a hold of somebody on the phone and they know you're a recruiter, at some point I would say, look, I'm not trying to sell you something today. I'll get selfish later. But what I'm curious about, Bob, is a lot of my clients have had problems in construction finding a person that can do X. I don't think you guys are looking right now, but which is why I'm actually calling you, Bob. I'm calling you because I think in the future you're going to have a need like that, and I'd like to know how to work with you guys to be one of those people you call to help you out with that. And so you're not saying, "Oh yeah, I'm a recruiter."
Alan, sounds good. Send me some information.
I don't want to send you information. When can we have a meaningful talk, Bob?
I just
This
don't really
week.
have any openings right now. I
know
what
you
the
don't.
reason is for have a call.
And I know you don't, which is why when you do, you're probably panicking and you're making bad decisions, hiring the wrong recruiters that happen to call you at that moment. And that's not what we are. We're the person you think about
That's
calling.
good. That's good. I like that.
You're the
Hold on
person
a
you
second.
remember that I called you when you didn't need something, and I was professional, and we had a meeting of the minds.
I like that. That's a good rebuttal. I like
Wait
that.
a second, though. There's another way to handle that. Okay, I'll send you something, but I'll call you back once a month until you actually stay in your face. And so some of these guys, they say, no, I don't need any help. But if you call them at the right moment, lots of people say it's a matter of timing. If you call them at the right moment.
There are times when I've called somebody and say, yeah, we're not hiring. I go, look, but let me ask you a question. And you kind of bring it down a little bit. Let me ask you a question. If there is a special need and you could fix your team, who would that be? What position would you be looking for? What's the hardest ones for you to fill? And they go.
That's the fact finding stuff that's important too. On the
and then they go, well, that's a second shift supervisor. I go, so if I found you a second shift supervisor, tell you what, bro, I'm going to send him to you, and don't think I'm crazy, but I'm going to send him to you. You look him over, and you want to buy him, you want to use him. That's up to you. But I just don't want you to think I'm crazy because I'm not listening to you. I'm listening to you, but I'm showing you somebody. And if you want to play, then sign the contract and we'll play.
But those might be really, really tough searches, okay? That are like wild goose chases.
Well, they're not going to give you the
You're not
easy
taking
one.
on a search. You're not taking on a search. You're saying if I happen to come across the second line supervisor, I'm going to send them to you, right? And that is not bad. And to Alan's point, when someone says send me an email, I say no problem sending that to you. But when has an email ever been better than a conversation? Yeah, Ben. I don't know. You had the Porsche keys before. I have the
Oh, of
same
course,
one.
we've been talking about Rich behind his back, okay?
Dude,
I didn't say, yeah, I took the Porsche, yeah.
10 minutes after the show, Rich.
Rich would never do that.
I love you. Bye.
Bye.
Rich.
No, so I
okay?
say, when is a conversation? When has
You're
an
on
email
mute,
ever
Rich.
been better
You're
than
on
a
mute.
conversation? When has it ever been? That's what I try to get across.
Here's what Tom is doing right now. Okay, he's making what Danny Cahill calls institutional calls, and Rich knows Danny Cahill personally. Okay,
What I missed. What are we trying to do?
okay,
Let's go.
he's marketing himself without a
I'm
candidate.
struggling because I can make cold calls with an NPC all day long, twice on Saturday. If I have a good NPC, I love making phone calls. I have the number one sales rep from direct competitor. I'm trying to break away from break into something I'm afraid of, that I struggle with, that I'm not good at, which is, hi, I'm Tom. I'm wonderful and great. Use my services.
Are you doing that on purpose? Or are you doing it because it's a need right now?
I'm doing it because I'm a masochist, yes, and I want to be able to do that. I think it's important because then I can help other people do that, right? Because I get all the time, how do you develop business? And I know my 3 ways of developing business, but if I want to have a 4th way, it has to be this way, right? It's selling myself, selling the services, trying to get them to want, I want to grow myself, right?
How
So
does
that's it.
how does a new person break in basically by selling their services like that? Yeah, I mean, I do it through referrals, through NPCs, and doing it. Hey, this is what we do. I usually call with, hey, this is, hey, I work with a lot of Andreessen Andreessen portfolio companies. You may have heard my name. It's Rich. It's Rich Rosen. Cornerstone Search. We help build all the portfolio, go to market.
I'm America's recruiter.
Yeah.
Okay.
As Animal says, I have that going in the background. And then you just start a conversation, and some of these guys.
And that's what I that's good. Because that's where I struggle with,
come
right?
on,
So
Tom, throw it back in his face. Okay, send me some information.
no, so that's what I struggle. I will in a second, but that's where I struggle. Is like, what is that presentation? I say something like, "Hi, this is Tom Alascio. You and I've never spoken before, but we've worked with a lot of the same companies. Butler is a big client of mine, and I know that that a lot of my clients like you are struggling finding project managers with this specific experience, and I'm assuming you're having those same issues. And what we've been able to do with our process is do blah 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 blah. I wanted to see if we could have a conversation
But
about that.
it's too long. You got to keep it short, right?
See, but exactly that's why when you're on this kind of show, okay, I know Tom, I know Alan, I know Rich. I call him up. Hey, it's Ernie. Yeah. How in the hell do you do this?
Yeah.
And then you do it this way, and they give you coach. Okay, get it. And thank you. Now I feel good. Now I understand. I'm not freaking crazy.
Yeah.
and you can do it, but you can't pick up the phone unless you reach out sometimes to other recruiters and figure out what your style is, because I don't have their kind of style. They have their own. Everybody has their own style, and you got to figure out what your voice is.
And you
Okay,
got to
here's
figure
my
out what
pitch.
works for you.
Can I tell you my pitch? You guys contribute?
Hold on one second. Can I just
Right.
come in here? What if, these guys, if you're a regular on the show, you know a lot about Tom's business and Rich's business, okay? At least I think I do, okay? And so what if they just get on and say, look, I'm a superstar in your industry. Something short and bold, okay?
They don't. This is the thing. No matter how well known we are in the space, not everyone knows you.
Okay, but isn't that an entree?
No, because then
they said, no, I never heard of you, okay?
Because that's about you. It's not about them. Great,
Right.
you're a big shot. Great for you.
Rip them.
Yeah.
I've never heard of you, Rick. Well, you should have, and I'll tell you why, okay? Isn't that
When I worked in a company and there was a lot of Spanish-speaking people, the lady came to me and she told me, an older lady, she says, and told me in Spanish, porque tú eres big shit.
Yeah.
I go, what? You go, big shit. I go, what does that mean? She goes, you're up high in the company. I go, oh, big shot.
No,
That's
big
why she was
shit.
saying
Not the same thing.
But she was one of those ladies that, you never expect her to talk that way.
Let Tommy ask a question.
Does Tom have
So
a question?
basically,
I thought you had a
opener, and
question.
then I work with companies like Cornerstone Search to help solve problems of finding actual experienced pre-engineered metal building people for their team. For example, one client was struggling with finding project managers who actually understood
No.
metal building erection
Wordy.
and didn't allow subs to do all the erection
Stop.
work. We were able to find them 2 candidates in 2 weeks.
Stop.
Too much?
Yeah, it's way too much. You got to break it up a little bit. It's like, hey, it's like, Tom, hey, now I've done this for so long now. Hey, Tom, it's, Tom, hey, listen, I work with a lot of other portfolio companies, or, I work with a lot of other players in the building space. Hey, you may have heard my name. It's Tom, Tom Alascio. And they're going to say, I don't know who the hell you are. Oh, yeah, listen, if you did, you probably would have called me already, right? And, but listen, this is what I've done for all these companies. I've helped build sales teams for X, Y, and Z. Heard you guys are struggling with the same problem, and, love to see if it's something we can help out with.
Can I interject right there?
Go ahead.
Because I think what Rose said was great. The only thing I would for our industry, Tom, the only thing that I might do is what keeps your clients up at what keeps your current clients up at night. Therefore, I would take that and I would shift it over to, hey, we've had a lot of clients that they've told us this is what keeps them up at night. I don't know.
Yeah.
What?
So you can just say, listen, hey, I know my other clients are having this problem,
Yeah.
or I know this is a typical problem in this space. Is that what you're experiencing?
Well, I'm curious. Yeah.
As you're doing it, remember the guys that call you the spam callers? They go, hello. You say, hello, this is Ernie. May I speak with Ernie?
Hello.
Then
Hello.
They go, may I speak with Ernie? And I go, I just told you it was me.
Yeah.
And then one lady told me, she goes, are you the one with a backache and a headache? I go, and I am not only that, yes, I am. I said, but I also have an ass ache. So I'm going to talk to you later. Bye. But,
You're
it's,
calling me on the hopper.
yeah, you watch people that really kind of ruin it for everybody.
Yeah.
But you got to figure out what your style is to get in,
Or they start immediately selling an MPC before you even get past your name, So,
Yeah.
I mean, what I learned when I was inside and I had recruiters calling me is probably 1 out of 200 actually took the time to ask a question or two instead of going straight into the cell. And the reason I'm suggesting a couple of the other things, Tommy, is the way that we got the 3 approved vendors we got over time is I told them, I said, Rich, look, we don't use right now. We're going to have to at some point. The only way I can suggest this is, dude, call me every 45 days. I'm probably going to say no for 2, 3, 4 months. But if I get my guy, if I get some screaming needs, I'm going to at least remember you. Now, that eliminated 90% of everybody who would never call back. And the other ones would just say, hey, it's been 45 days, Alan. I'm sure it's a no, but let me ask you 1 or 2 questions from what I've been experiencing with a couple of clients. And it's kind of like you're trying to keep going with them. You're always with them. What's in it for them?
What's in it for me? Well, in case
yeah.
people don't know, they're watching from India. Okay,
How many
animals sniffing people or something? You know?
How many people, Rich? Let me ask you this: how many of us have listened to women talking about how hard it is to date men, and they've got all these pickup lines and everything else, and the one that's dating is saying, "Oh well, how did Rich? Oh, I'm married to Rich. How did he come up to me? Well, there was a restaurant. He walked up to me and he said, 'Hi, my name's Rich. I've been hearing you and your girlfriends talking. You seem very intelligent. You're obviously very attractive. If you're not in a relationship, may I buy you a drink? If you are, please accept my apologies.' And he's very lucky." It's straightforward and nobody does it.
Mhm.
hold on a second. I think that if Tom and Rich, who are telling us all the time that they're very successful in their niches, okay, I don't know why you wouldn't just go in there and
But
say,
that's not how it
you know,
works. If
hold
they don't
on,
know
no,
you,
I'm
it
America's
doesn't-
recruiter.
It's just
If you-
wrong.
Let me finish, Rich.
It works on referrals. It does not work
Wait
just
a
on a
second.
cold call unless
You're
they've
missing,
heard
you
of
know,
you.
if you've never heard of me, you're missing me and you don't even know it. Okay, something catchy like that, and you
No,
can
I
back
mean,
up.
listen,
You can
you-
back up who you are. Okay.
No, they don't care because now it's all about you. It's not about what you can do for them. You know, they don't look at it that way. You're just some other guy they don't know, and you're saying
I'm not, but you could argue that I'm not some other
But-
guy.
well,
You don't
I'm
know.
arguing that this guy doesn't know me.
Yeah,
Like,
it's arrogance. They're not.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're smart, they're going to think you're arrogant. I like Rich's approach where he said,
Arrogant is good sometimes. I'm going to send you headlines about Rich Rosen, and you'll
But-
know you want to know me. Okay.
you know, but it's never about you. It's all about what's going to be for them. You start talking about you. That's great. Yeah, you did awesome. I'm like you personally. If someone calls but I say this, and then I say that out loud. Like I think like you do, and then I always got to stop myself, which is what I've done. But think about it. If I called you and said, "Hey, Animal, this is Rich. Hey, listen, I've crushed it. I've made 1,200 placements in your space. Hey, what do you got for needs? Let me help you out. Come on. You're gonna be like, go fuck yourself. Or-
Rich, but you know what? I will tell you, okay, something nasty like that, but then that's an invitation for you to come back. You know what? I got to tell you, I can tell you why you don't trust me, but I can prove to you that
A lot of it, you got to listen to the voice.
It's the
Answer,
tone.
you
The
gotta
tone
say
is
the
down.
tone. Because you can tell they're stressed
Wait a
out.
second before
And
we
you're
go on.
calling them out of the blue like they were expect you think that they expected your fucking call. I mean, their wife
Yeah,
could just
it's Rich.
cheated on them. Their dog could have just
Tommy,
died. Who
Hey,
the
Bill,
hell?
it's Tommy. Tommy who? Tommy, who you should have been knowing
Tommy,
about
yeah,
for the last
knock,
5
knock,
years.
who's there?
Okay?
Tommy two-tone.
You can just Emma, you can just call up and say knock knock. You know,
You don't know who I am? What's
Who's
wrong
there?
with you?
you're a fucking recruiter. Come on.
I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse.
Alan said, I just want to give Alan a chance. You said you got a question for Rich. Do you want to talk about it now, or should we keep talking about this? You said you got a process question for.
Take care, Dave.
I just wanted to ask him what his daily process is. That's all. I'm trying to improve, and I got some stuff going on, and I need to get to the next level and shake off the dust.
What I say for everyone is just they don't make enough phone calls. They just
Right.
don't do anything, and that is the process mistake. You got to start automating. You got to start getting getting lists built quicker. Get your day planned, because if you're not planned, you're not doing anything of value.
Yeah.
You're just wasting time. It's 99.9% of the problems usually. And listen, right now, I think BD is it's as hard as it's ever been. Because emails and cold calls, I personally think cold calls actually work better than email right now, but you got to do both.
Rick,
Yeah.
Rick, you're doing this training right now with individuals. What are you finding to be their biggest problem?
They don't make enough phone calls. They don't do enough of anything, quite frankly. I think that's, like I said, that's almost everyone's problem is they're not doing enough motion. They're not generating enough activity because they're not doing enough activity.
And as you tell them that, do they say, "Oh yeah, you're right," and then they do it?
The smart ones. I mean, but like a lot of them, this is the funny thing when you ever coach and train people, 99% of them don't listen. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. I'll back do what I did. It was easy before when it didn't do anything."
They paid money for that.
Honestly, that's why we don't charge a lot. I feel bad for people.
Okay, so Rich actually, what he says that one of his key things is working nights, watching TV, planning his next day. And so you're saying that 99% of the people you teach on Thursday mornings at 8:45, Rich at cornerstonesearch.com, if you want to talk to him about his classes online. Okay, you're saying that 99% of them don't start working at night like you do? They say, "Rich, I want to be like you, but I don't want to do what you do."
I haven't asked him, but I'm going to assume not. But I got to tell you, it's at the end of the day, like you got to be able to multitask in this job. And like working at night, it's not like you're cracking rocks. You're literally watching TV. My wife sits here and watches TV with me, and I'm going through emails. I'm going through.
What if you don't have ADHD like you do?
Well, then I don't know. You're either fucked or I don't know if you're fucked or you're not, quite frankly. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse some days, but it keeps things interesting because you're doing a lot of things at once. Like, honestly, there's days I wish I didn't have it, and there's days I'm really glad I do. As the older I get.
It makes a good point. Like, what are you doing when you're like, obviously, if you're watching a brand new movie and you have to pay attention, but with my ADHD, I'll put on Law and Order and watch episodes I've seen before that I like, and then I can work while I'm watching it. Like, I can plan, I can put together stuff, right? Or if my wife's out doing something, like she's at the horses, if she goes out to the horses tonight, right? I may work till 7, but I'm not really working. I'm sitting here playing, doing social media shit, doing planning, stuff like that, right? So you kind of got to think about it like that. Like, if you have free time, what are you doing in your free time?
Like, literally, I was up at 3:00 this morning. I'm on ChatGPT asking about if I was going to niche down, where I should be niching to, where I should be doing this, what roles are going to be, just other shit that you're just thinking about.
You have those moments where you say, "I wonder if."
Yeah.
And then you run to ChatGPT or whatever.
I make a note. I'll grab my phone and make a note and then go back and look at it and do it. Like, if I remember something I think is important, or I think of a really cool way to sell a candidate or sell a service or do whatever, I'll just start talking to my phone and make a huge note.
Yeah, absolutely.
The interesting thing that Rich just said is what he just said makes a comment that he constantly is doing the blocking and tackling that even a brand new recruiter needs to do. And no, because when I started, I thought there was some secret. And when I went to when my company sent me to my first training back in Boston, and I'm talking to Rich, one of the top sales guys, and I'm like, he's not making this 40 calls.
And you knew that because Rich told you, right? The top sales guys.
No, and I said,
I called him up.
Well, the top guy was Ernie, and I'm talking to Ernie, and I'm like, "Ernie, why didn't you make your 40 calls that we're supposed to make? And why did you look? You got to do that when you start out, and and then you build relationships, and then you still need to cold call. But here's why, and here's what, and here's how." I was like, "Oh, okay."
The calls now become more strategic, but I am still like, at this point, after 30 years, a lot of my best clients have literally died or retired. So I'm constantly refreshing. Plus, in the startup world, stuff changes.
Yeah.
These become reps. Reps they just leave the industry because it's so hard. So I'm always looking for new folks. And part of my kick is I never think I know what the hell I'm doing either, to be honest with you. I just know this is what I do. This is what works. Stumbling around, act like I'm like Columbo, people seem to, find endearing when you're on a phone call. And, it doesn't come across as arrogant or cocky. It comes across as like, "Hey, listen, dude, I'm just trying to help you if I can. I mean, is this something that you'd need?" Like, that's why when you do that pitch, it's like, "Hey, this is Rich Rosen. You may have heard, have you heard of me? I've worked for all their, all these portfolio companies or whatever, so you bring the commonality, you bring a little, like, hey,
how many times have you called somebody and say, Hey, I want to introduce myself. This is Rich Rose. And they go, I know who you are, bro.
Quite a bit, honestly.
And you don't remember them.
Now he's changing
I
the
have a-
story. Rich, Ernie caught him out, but Rich, this is where this is where we started out. Are you willing to take a risk when you talk to somebody and look like an idiot? And you're saying you stumble around like Columbo, okay? Is that deliberate?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I mean, listen, I screw up so many cold calls. It's not even funny.
What do you mean I stumble around like Columbo? You're like, oh, wait a second, I forgot to ask you something.
Yeah, you just like, it's
Even has a hat on.
yeah. But I mean, listen, I never listen. I don't know why anyone's good or bad at this job. Quite frankly,
He's full of shit. Okay.
Yeah, other than like those that put the time and effort in is what it is. I mean, if you make enough calls, dude, you're gonna hit enough bullseyes, right? You're gonna hit enough things. But you gotta know what to say. And I mean, I've got a friend of mine. Their daughter's a year out of college and has been doing engineering recruiting in New York City. She's billed $350,000 her first year out. You know what? She didn't have a ton of training. She was a super smart kid, and puts the effort in.
And also fail our way first. And if you follow our training, you will succeed in spite of yourself. Those are two things I tell people all the time. If you follow the training, you'll succeed. We all learned that.
Yeah. I mean, and this whole job, you are always learning. The amount of times I am reading like sales techniques or wordsmithing something and learning a new way to phrase something, legitimately every day. Every single day there's something new to learn. And I find so many people, it's just almost every recruiter, they're like, I did it this way yesterday, I'm going to do it this way tomorrow. It's easy, it's quick. Well, I don't know why it's not working. I made 30 bad calls yesterday and I made 35 bad calls today. Something should have happened. You're still making bad calls. You still have no rebuttals. You have no objection handling skills. You have no insight into like what their pains were.
And even if you're talking to them, you ask them, and we live on this thing, like, hey, are you using ChatGPT? And they go, I heard of it.
Dude,
95% have never even looked at it.
So listen, next week I'm going to hopefully introduce this new tool. I'm trying to get an affiliate license with it because it's so cool. All right. Because it can literally fact check people live on the call. And you can train your recruiters and it will give you the questions to ask them based on what they're saying. I've been playing with it today. And
I demoed something similar to that. I'm helping this guy develop it, and it listens to the call and then says stuff as the guy's saying stuff. The AI looks at what he says and then tells you what to say about the product or what to say about the service. And then you can add an MCP server to it or a knowledge-based server to it, so it sees all the stuff and knows what to say when the person says that. And I told him, I said, dude, you don't understand what you've got here if you can figure out how to make this work. And this could be a rebuttal machine for your recruiter.
But Tommy, this one could look at your screen too and basically read the screen and then tell you everything that's going on. And then
that's awesome.
And then the follow-up it does is fucking killer. It's so fucking cool.
So you're gonna have this tool that you're using, and you're gonna have all these smart ass questions and everything, and like think, man, this dude's really sharp. Then you're gonna call him, and you're not gonna have the tool available, so you gotta like scrap it.
But you know what? But for a new recruiter that's learning, you can have this thing. Like there's bigger companies that do it, but this one's got some really kick-ass technology that, man, if you prompt this thing and set this thing up right,
what
man.
About
I think
the tool that does immediate research online about the person you're talking to, about the company, and while he or she is talking, it either shows you on the screen in bold letters, true or liar, liar, lie. Everything he says, it says true or true.
Welcome to recruiting. So it's listen, but it gives you questions to ask if it's like, but if you're taking like a biz dev call and you're taking an intake discovery call and this thing is fact checking what the client's telling you, you're like, really? You want to go a little deeper on that one?
Is that what you're talking? That's what I asked you. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what we'll do.
Oh, really?
It searches the web in real time.
And then you're going to tell them what I've talked to you. I decided not to have you as a client because you're a quote client.
I'm walking away.
No, you charge them like 50% fee and they walk away on their own. I don't have to be the bad guy. I'm like, well, this kind of search, this kind of time it's going to take, this kind of resources it's going to use up. It's probably going to be about 45%
Be
fee.
careful what you ask for. You might get it.
Exactly.
I
What you
mean,
might.
an order. I was thinking about that. You beg the guy for an order for 5 minutes, and then your tool tells you to blow him off. I can't
In the
remember.
late
Don't take that
80s,
order.
management recruiters wrote a retainer for some aerospace something or another, and there was, when they did the research, there was 4 people in the whole fucking country that were
Oh
calling.
yeah.
Mhm.
Dude, I had a contract. I used to have it hanging on my wall years ago. It was literally for $1 million. And it was this place, it was this freehold thing. And I actually had people for it. But we knew this thing was either going to be monstrous or it was going to be a giant scam and full of shit. And go figure, that did not pan out.
I always wonder
The
with
lawyers
these
didn't
new,
agree, apparently, with
these
this guy.
large language model engineers that are getting paid 8, 9, 100,000 base salaries and 10
Yeah.
million, 100 million.
Yeah, some of that was proven to be horseshit too.
Yeah, but even at some of these salaries I'm seeing, like $1 million salaries, like, are they paying? These aren't even leaders. Some of them are just fucking individual contributors.
Engineers. Dude, I have a client, they paid an engineer from NASA $4.5 million to come over. You know, not a bad signing bonus.
Anything
All right, I
else?
got 1 o'clock,
We're wrapping up. Okay, I already talked about Richie's show Thursday mornings, 8:45. Rich at cornerstonesearch.com if you want to talk to him about it. And we talked before you got here, Tom, about 12:30 Fridays. The Recruiter Roundtable.com. You can find all the information and links there. And Ernie's there, and so is Kelly. And Alan doesn't have a show.
Alan's there on Friday all the time.
Alan's-
anyway.
Alan's
Yes.
always on Fridays.
I'll be there. Rich, you answered my question. Me and you have at 1 o'clock.
What?
If you need, call me later, buddy. All right.
Oh, well, man, thanks.
All right, guys. Take it easy. See
Thanks,
y'all.
everybody.